Here in Germany, the armed forces say they are experiencing a surge in interest in voluntary military service. The Inspector General says that there has been a 15% rise in applications year on year. Young Germans can serve on a voluntary basis between 7 and 23 months. Germany abolished mandatory military service back in 2011, but since Russia's invasion of Ukraine, calls have grown louder to reintroduce it. The majority in Germany supports reintroducing mandatory military service, but a recent poll on whether Germans would be willing to take up arms in the event of a military attack painted a very different picture. Just 16% said they would definitely defend the country. A further 22% said probably, but a majority of 59% said they would probably not or definitely not defend Germany if attacked. Let's bring in Sophia Besch. She's an expert in German security and defense policy and a senior fellow at the Carnegie Endowment for International Peace's Europe program. Welcome to DW. So we hear that more young people are signing up for voluntary military service, but that's a rather short-term program. Does that have any impact at all on the recruitment problems of the Bundeswehr?
Yeah, thanks for having me. Well, that is the hope of the defense ministry and the defense minister for sure. So Pistorius, like many other defense ministers in Europe, has a real personnel problem, both with recruitment and with retention. And the hope is that if you get people to join this voluntary military service, that they will then enter the reserves after, that you can build up a reserve that you can call upon in a crisis. So yes, this does hopefully make a difference. If we look at, though, the larger numbers that are required to get to some of the targets that the Bundeswehr has set itself in terms of recruitment, then this might just be the start.
I have some numbers here, and they might be interesting to our viewers. In 10 years, the German army wants to increase its personnel by 90,000. That is 50% of the troops the German army has right now. How realistic is that?
Yeah, that's a good question. Since the suspension of conscription in 2011, overall Bundeswehr numbers have basically plateaued at around 180,000. These numbers that might even be a little bit on the optimistic side are derived from NATO targets. So it is what Germany has committed that it will contribute to NATO's defense in the future. Big question marks over whether this will be possible with this sort of hybrid voluntary military service model that Pistorius has introduced now. I think there are many voices you will hear in the defense ministry, in the chancellery, in the foreign ministry, who think that we might have to return to a more mandatory model than this. But it is not even just whether you can get people to sign up. It's also having to build up the capacities, the training capacity, the screening capacity, the administrative bureaucracy around recruitment and conscription. Right now, these facilities are just not there. We're going to have to build the plane while we fly it.
Build the plane while we fly it, and we'll have to find some passengers. And the Bundeswehr, especially among young people, doesn't necessarily have the best reputation. Also, there is a war raging not far away. So how is the German army trying to reach potential recruits?
Yeah, so I think there is a very focused sort of awareness campaign happening right now. So the German army is attempting to reach young people through social media targeting. The Bundeswehr has a TikTok. The Bundeswehr has an Instagram. There are much more local events happening throughout Germany now, with the armed forces going into schools, talking to future graduates about a career in the armed forces. We will have this new questionnaire that is going to be sent out to young men and women, asking them about their willingness to serve starting next year. And that is just seen as a way to reach people who might not have thought about the military before and just put this career as an option in front of them.
And it calls for mandatory military service. Sorry, because we're reaching the end of the show and there's so much more to get to. Calls for mandatory military service have, of course, been growing louder. Young people are not fond of the idea. In your opinion, is it the only way to go for the Bundeswehr to get enough personnel?
I think it's a really risky way. Nobody wants to force this issue. I think it has to be based on a willingness to serve, on a willingness to defend your country. Otherwise, you are giving a present to populist parties who might want to take up the mantle of peace party. If you vote for us, your sons and daughters won't have to serve in the military. We are going to have to invest much more in, and I will say the word Zeitenwende, the cultural acceptance both of the military and then also the willingness to defend your country, serve your country, defend the values that you think your country stands for.
Sophia, Besch, many thanks. Great speaking to you today.
Thank you.